At the very least, the optics are brutal. Just a month after the federal government gave Bombardier a $372,500,000 taxpayer-subsidized interest-free loan, the 82nd government subsidy handout, bailout, whatever you want to call it, a year after they've received $1 billion from the Quebec government and received $1.3 billion from the Quebec pension fund manager, Caisse de dépôt, 2 years since it announced the goal of reducing the workforce by 7,000, of which 2,000 layoffs have already occurred, we learned that the company's top 5 senior executives and the Bombardier board chairman saw their pay rise 48% last year compared to 2015. Just so you know, total compensation was about $32.6 million US, 45 million Canadian, in 2016, up from 21.9 million US the year before. As I said, the optics are brutal, which is why the chairman has been forced to walk back his personal increase and is now going to have his compensation back to the 2015 level of 3.85 million US from just over $5 million. But let's get past that, because the story's far bigger. The federal Liberals, like the Conservative government before it, and like the NDP is clearly on record as supporting, even extending, they love to support favored, well-connected industries and specific businesses with your tax dollars. Now, if you work in one of those businesses, especially at the executive level, as Bombardier is now illustrating, this has worked out very well for you. For the specific workers, the results are actually more mixed. I mean, sometimes tax dollars, which keep in mind are extracted from people earning far less, do in fact protect high-paying jobs. Other times, though, it hasn't. And a case in point are the layoffs at the big 3 automakers after billions in government handouts, bailouts, subsidies, and now layoffs at Bombardier. The big reason is that the norm for government is to prop up losing companies. Most times they're losing for a good reason, maybe bad management, poor productivity, uncompetitive products or services, which is why government money provides maybe short-term support for those problems, but it doesn't solve them. The special treatment is based on the premise that governments can actually spot the winners better. They know how to invest better than the private sector. Because keep in mind, companies like Bombardier don't raise money in the private sector. Nobody wanted to give them an interest-free loan. Although it must be noted that in big, bold, flashing red letters, there's absolutely no evidence to support the view that government can spot winners better or know how to invest better. There are no Warren Buffetts in government. Just this week, Finance Minister Bill Morneau tweeted in quotes, "We're making big bets in digital, agri-food, and clean tech. Where do you see opportunities for Canada to succeed?" End of quote. Well, did you really elect the government to make bets on your behalf, to invest your money? Because I certainly didn't. No, I understand many Canadians disagree with me. They want government making investments with our tax dollars, picking what the bureaucrats and politicians think will be winner. Doesn't matter how bad their track record is on that. But that's one of the big philosophical divides in our country. Although I have to note that for the left, that's a huge change. You remember the days of David Lewis when he called it corporate welfare? Well, no more. Well, again, those people who love the government to be investing their tax dollars are going to love this week's announcement that the feds and the Ontario government committed $205 million tax dollars to Ford. That's on the heels of the January announcement of $85 million tax dollars to Honda. Now, make no mistake, the federal Liberal government is committed to a huge government role in supporting their particular favorites in corporate Canada. And when they do, they open themselves up to the kind of criticism they're getting in the wake of the revelations about Bombardier's executive salaries. But I want to make one thing crystal clear. If helping Canada's economy and growing and creating jobs is the goal, then they should take a hard look at the many obstacles that prevent capital investment before they make these tax dollar donations to these favored companies. You know, they could focus instead, in conjunction with the other 2 levels of government, on the boatload of useless regulations that the Canadian Federation of Business estimates cost the economy about $11 billion per year. Provinces and municipalities should review land restrictions on development around major urban centers, which could also help increase housing supply, maybe ease some of the problems there. Some municipalities display an astounding lack of urgency to approve even simple renovations, let alone new construction. Listen to this one. In the World Bank 2016 report, it's called Doing Business, Canada ranked 53rd in dealing with construction permits with an average delay of 249 days. Why not look at that? And let's not even start with delays surrounding anything to do with resources. Sure, we need a process that's thorough, but we're way past that. Opponents use delay as a strategy. If inviting capital investment is the goal, then why not be more competitive with our tax policy? And before my leftist friends light their hair on fire with the prospect of lowering taxes for business, let me remind them that every party, NDP, Liberal, and Conservative, have acknowledged that lower taxes creates the incentive for capital investment. Maybe the ideologically challenged may not like to remember this, but it was the NDP in BC that brought in film tax credits. The NDP in Saskatchewan that brought in oil and gas credits in order to attract investment. My point is that there are many policies that would create incentives for businesses to invest without handing out hundreds of millions of dollars to favored companies. Keep in mind, by the way, that companies like Ford, Bombardier, Honda already enjoy a 35% cost advantage over American competitors and about a 10% over European ones because of the low Canadian dollar. Two final quick points that are continually overlooked in all the jobs talk is that spending hundreds of millions of dollars on anything would create jobs. And two, removing hundreds of millions of dollars from individuals or businesses through taxation in order to give it to a favored company always costs the economy jobs.